as well is with WWE. They like to hot shot the belt. Nobody has really had in the company now a predominantly good reign as the champion. They want to hot shot it. After 3 months, they want to give it over to this new guy or so, and that don't fly with me as well as the whole Money in the Bank thing. I've never really been a big fan of the Money in the Bank persona as well, because that makes the wrestler, so to speak, look weak in a way. And as much as I love Bryan Danielson, he has the belt. He took it from Big Show with the Money in the Bank. It still personally looks like, okay, can you win the belt without, having that guy down already, cashing in and getting the 1, 2, 3? And so to speak, with Edge, when Edge did it the first time, when he won the first Money in the Bank, it suited him because he was being that ultimate opportunist. He was crazed and fanatic about winning that belt. So I gave it to him for that, and he did it again. And then it was like, okay, we understand Edge is going to do this. But when CM Punk won the Money in the Bank and he did it back to Edge, it was like, okay, karma. Okay, that's karma, Edge. You got what was coming to you. Then he did it again with Jeff Hardy. And right there, I was like, you know what? That, Punk, you could have waited. You was selfish. Y'all could have, or WWE, y'all could have said, give Jeff Hardy his time in the spotlight right there. And then, but then in the speak, like my bro just said, it made the Punk Jeff Hardy feud a little bit better. And then we started to see more people do it over and over and over. Jack Swagger did it, and The Miz did it, and it just started to get a little bit routine, to the point where I wanted to see somebody to break that mold and be like, just because you won the Money in the Bank don't mean you're going to win. I wanted to see somebody lose it. And I thought it was going to be The Miz. I thought Miz was going to be the first to cash it in but lose, but they didn't. And that's my grief with hot-shotting the belt. And it's no better over on TNA either. Like I said, me being a wrestling fan, I watch both scheduled program that comes on, and also, other wrestling that, I have to order to watch it. But other than that, it's no better on TNA as well. Hot-shotting the belt, the bad storyline. And that's predominantly, freaking, Malcolm, help me out. What's his name? On TNA. The writer. What is his name again? Yeah, Vince Russo. So, I have a little bit of a problem with that, guys. Sorry, guys. Sometimes my mind goes blank, so I got to remember. But he's not the writer no more on TNA. But you could see where I'm coming from with that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, the belt situation. It always seems to me, if you look at Cena, if you look at Triple H, if you look at maybe the Undertaker, and there might be one or two that I'm leaving off.
Randy Orton.
Yeah, Randy Orton. Yeah, Edge as well. They seem to be the WWE, that is. They seem to be trying to eclipse Ric Flair.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like, because if any one of them, whether I like the wrestler or whether I don't like the wrestler, if any one of them becomes the 17-time whatever, that's not going to diminish how I look at Ric Flair as pretty much being the greatest champion.
Right. The closest I would say is Triple H. He's the closest to 13. Yeah, 13 to. But with him and the way, with his biggest, his big, like, his position now in the company, it so to speak shows that he can't do what he, be a wrestler and still be in his position that he is. And he understands that now, that, my time as champ is done now. And I'm glad to see that he does. But you know, I can understand your concerns about, you know, somebody, you know, ascending Ric Flair's break record as heavyweight champion. You know, I can understand that.
Yeah, 'cause, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of Randy Orton. But even with Randy, I just, him becoming 17-time champion or something.
Hmm.
I think that's just a blot on that the McMahons are putting on Ric Flair.
Right, right. You know, Randy. You know, with Orton, it's coming there because once again, he's another one that has that love hate relationship with fans as well. You know, it's like they respect the fact that he's a third generation, you know, wrestler like The Rock, you know, but you know, he took a curve and turned it to his advantage as well in becoming this persona of being, you know, the quote unquote viper, and you know, he'll kick your head off if he needed to. But
Mm-hmm.
Randy has gone on to say predominantly, and I remember this article I was reading where he talked about it. He was like, he he doesn't want the belt all the time. You know, he gets a bit of he has an anger management issue, and for really, it's not just as his character. You know, he was very upset at certain points when him and John Cena fought for the belt. He was very upset and back about winning the belt. You know, and from John Cena, but he's always gone on to say he feels that he doesn't need the belt as well. You know, he can be in good feuds without the belt. Uh, he he also feels that he predominantly does not want to be around at age 40, and I'm not dissing any wrestler that is in that age, you know, wrestling now. He's predominantly doesn't want to be around age 40 still wrestling, you know, because you can see that starts playing a toll on your body,
Mm-hmm.
and there are a lot of wrestlers that you can see that, and one in particular, like I said, is Hulk Hogan. I mean, this guy is just completely messed up from being in the ring. I mean, the dude has a device in his spinal column that he has to press to relieve pain in his back, you know, and that's just showing the war wounds that this guy has had from
Mm-hmm.
predominantly being in the ring. And,
Right.
you know, Triple H, you know, has his quad history, you know, that's why his legs are so taped up now, you know, uh, uh, The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, my God, I love The Taker, but predominantly, I think personally as a fan, I see, you know, Mark, please, Mr. Calloway, please retire. Enough is enough. There's nothing for you to prove anymore.
Right.
Okay, you have a a record, especially at the big event, that can basically have the young generation now be like, wow, I want to be in that pedestal as being undefeated as well as WrestleMania. There is no need for you to keep wrestling, and predominantly the factor of all the injuries he's had over the years. The one thing I would want to see Mark Calloway as the Undertaker do is come at WrestleMania and pronounce his retirement and cut it predominantly in character and out of character, and just tell the fans thank you so much, but my time is over. You know, he has this great um, real estate business that he has now as well, and that real estate, from what I remember, is still doing great. You know, it brings me to a factor of what Mick Foley said. It saddens him that he could not get down on the floor and play with his kids, you know, because of the injuries he's suffered. You know, that just brings a little tear to your eye, and just show you what these guys and women, I can't pronounce that, the women go through, because there are some women that have some bad injuries in wrestling as well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And predominantly I can think of right off the top of my head would be Lita, you know, with her neck, you know, and Trish Stratus with her arms and things like that, you know, and Victoria or Tara, however you want to call her now, you know, they've had some bad injuries in their career, you know, but yeah, you can see the injuries they build up. You know, Stone Cold is another example. You know, that's why I love with Jericho, God bless him, has never had a real serious injury besides in his arm, but he's never had a real career-threatening injury, and so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, with Jericho. And that's something I've always said. God bless him for that. God bless him. And that's my predominantly of where I don't want to see my favorite wrestlers crippled in a wheelchair, accepting awards, and they could barely move and things like that. I fear I don't want that to come true with some of my favorites that I grew up with. Um, and I always, just say thank you, thanks to the people like Steve. He's still around. He's moving around. He says he's in the best shape that he's ever been. That his neck injury surgery was so successful. But yeah, you fear to see stuff like that. You know what I'm saying, guys? You fear that, and I'm not just talking to Knight here. I'm talking to you guys out there as well. You fear to see your favorite wrestlers, you know, end up in a wheelchair because of the thing they love to do, but because of matches they've had in their career. That's just predominantly with me. That's my biggest fear. It's great to see people like I said, Booker T and Rowdy Piper and people like that still come out. You see them walk out to the ring, without a cane or a crutch or something like that. That's just something that I love. Bret Hart is the prime example of that too. He did suffer a stroke, but he's still able to walk out to that ring and still be there to salute the fans. Like I said, I predominantly got when I went to a live event, guys, I got Bret Hart gave me his traditional glasses one time. So he shares a special place in my heart. 1991, Madison Square Garden. He gave me his glasses. That was something I will never forget. Unfortunately, my dad stepped on them and broke them. So, it. But to that matter, whenever I see Bret Hart, I always just say, look at him like, thank you, Bret. I'll never forget that.
Oh.
At what you gave. So that's something that I share.
Yeah, I remember I did a video a while back on about Bret Hart, and I had asked, I think you and several other people about, whether or not